company I'm going to be talking about is Aurania Resources. This is my new venture. I've been working down in Ecuador again for about 2 years. I got a lot of slides, so I'm going to go through them pretty fast. You can only find an elephant-sized deposit in virgin territory. And this is something exactly what Quentin did. He went to the Pilbara, to the western deserts, to an area that really had very little work. There was a tiny mention in a government report from 1908, and he followed it up and found, which I think is a massive discovery. You cannot find an elephant-sized deposit, a massive deposit, in the leavings of other companies. If the other company has scoured the place, the chances of you making a major discovery are pretty much nil. So what we've done in Ecuador, we've gone to an area, this is from an old map, 500 years old, and it says in Latin here, beyond this area, nothing is known. And I love to see that on maps. I collect maps myself. Ecuador, you're probably aware of what's been going on there. Certainly all the majors have got back into the place. Newcrest is there, BHP, they've both been fighting over Sol Gold, which is a copper gold porphyry discovery that was made a couple of years ago. But now Anglo-Americans there, Glencore's there, Barrick is back in country, RTZ's thinking about getting back in. There's a lot of activity, and of course, as Willem talked about, Fruta del Norte, that will be producing gold September of this year. They're already into trial mining, but the mill's not ready yet, so they're stockpiling it, but they will be reaching nameplate around September of this year. So this is a shot out of a publication, BHP and Newcrest in Ecuador shootout. Basically, they're competing for the same ore body. This is the Alpala ore body, which is owned by Sol Gold. I actually think that really the prize here is not what has been discovered already, but what is to come, because there are 14 targets on the 5,000 hectares of land. And the chances are, geologically, that something very similar to what has already been found will be found again, but much more shallow, because the deposit that's been found now is 400 meters down, and it will be very expensive to mine. They find something shallow that's near the surface, it'll change the economics amazingly, and probably they could make so much money off that thing that they could go and tackle Alpala, and really it would pay all the cost. Where we're working in Ecuador is down where you see that pink flower. It's in what's called the Cordillera de Curucu. It's contiguous with the Cordillera del Condor, which is just to the south. And just to the south is the area where I spent a lot of my career and made the Fruta del Norte discovery. And you can see that right there. This area has been heavily explored, mainly because of this orange unit. And this is granitic basement. So the rock here, everything has been eroded right down to the base here. You know all about erosion from what Quentin's been talking about, and there's only little remnants of the cover left here, the volcanic cover, little remnants, the purple and blue here. The remnants are the things that contain the vein systems. Largely these have been completely eroded away. The only thing that's left behind is the actual physical gold, which is in streams, and it's forming placer alluvial deposits. They're all over the place down here, and this is why the geologists and the prospectors got into this area to follow up the sources of this gold. We're up here, 208,000 hectares. This area has not been heavily dissected by erosion, so the systems are largely intact. This is very important. That means that they're not eroded, so they're mostly right there as they were deposited many years ago. So Mirador here is a copper gold porphyry, which will be in production next year. China National Gold and China National Railways and Tonglen Mining are developing that. Fruta del Norte, as I said, is down here, but there's a lot of activity down here. If you were to take our property here and superimpose it on this, we should have 5, 6, 7 mines. And that's one of the reasons we're in this lovely piece of real estate. Okay, there we go. So, of course, a lot of you know my history. It says I'm back back in Ecuador again here, following up the lost cities. So what are the lost cities? Well, I'm not going to go into this in great detail because it would take us an hour or so, but, and I don't have the time. But working with this gentleman here, Octavio Latorre, who was a professor of history, I started back in 1998 looking for 2 lost gold settlements of the conquistadors. And then the whole exploration took a left turn after I found this gold on surface near the Fruta del Norte deposit, what was to become that discovery years later. And after Fruta del Norte was sold in 2008, I got back to this. It's been very popular and had a lot of traction from the retail because, you know, gold of the conquistadors, it's a great idea, it's a great story. Just last week I had a call from the Discovery Channel. They want to come down and film. Vice HBO has come down and filmed on the property. And this is an article that was produced a couple years ago by Bloomberg. So this has been getting a lot of play in the press. Here I am at Fruta del Norte looking at 12 boxes of visible gold. I hope to do it all again. It's a hard act to follow, but as Mark Twain said, history doesn't often repeat itself, but it sometimes rhymes. So let's see what we can come up with. As Willem said, Aurelian had a massive move. It went up 9,200%. This is a view from the air at the site today, and you can see twin declines. These are tunnels, inclined tunnels going down into the ore body. There are 2,000 men on site engaged in construction, and as I said, this will be producing in September of this year with the Lundin Group. Getting back to the lost cities, this is an original map from 1584, from the time of the conquistadors. It shows the 2 lost settlements, Sevilla de Oro and Logroño de los Caballeros, and these were regarded in contemporary writings to be the richest gold mines in the Spanish Empire. Not just in the present-day Ecuador, but anywhere in the Spanish Empire. It's a hell of a deal. This is a manuscript that I found in the Vatican a few years ago. It's from 1628, and it's a description of the New World, the Spanish possessions. And on one critical page here, we find here, it's the top in Spanish says, the Capítulo de la Ciudad de Sevilla de Oro en la provincia de Macas. That means the chapter regarding Sevilla de Oro in the province of Macas. It describes how to get there from the town of Riobamba, which is here. Riobamba's never moved. It talks about the Rio Opano here. It talks about Logroño de los Caballeros in its description here, its destruction. But it says in here some really critical La tierra más rica de oro que hay en todas las Indias. That means the earth is richer in gold than all of the Indies. This sounds like it's been written by a promoter. This was written by a Carmelite priest in 1628. So here we go. Lo and behold, there's Macas. Lo and behold, it's not called the Opano anymore, but it's the Rio Upano, and it led us right back to here. And where is this? This is 100 kilometers north of Fruta del Norte. It could have been anywhere else in Ecuador, but the old Spanish documents led us right back to here. And this is where we're doing our exploration today. So very importantly, this area is virgin. There hasn't been anybody in there before, no companies. The last people who were in the area were the Spanish conquistadors, and that's going back to 1560 through to 1605. One of the reasons why people have not got in there is because there are settlements, small settlements, villages of indigenous people called the Shuar. For whatever reason, mining companies haven't wanted to engage with these people. But we certainly have. We talk to them every day. I have 112 indigenous people working for the company right now, and over the last 2 years we've engaged over 1,000 of them. A lot of them will work maybe half a day or a day or two if we're working in proximity to their villages, but we have an extremely good rapport with them. This is a welcoming ceremony. We have signed access agreements with 36 villages right now. And every time we go into a new village, we're greeted in the same way. These people have been marginalized for centuries, and we're engaging with them, we're employing them. I also have, besides the company, a private foundation which I set up. It's called the Step Forward Foundation, and we're catering to health and education initiatives for the children. And what we're doing here, we're measuring the children's weight, their height, we're drawing blood from them to test them for anemia, and what we did find was that, shockingly, they're all below the growth curves from what they should be. And the reason being is because, on average, they're getting 2 meals of protein a week. Only 2 meals. And they're subsisting on this, cassava root and plantain, which is like eating potatoes all day, every day. So we're trying to fix this, and we've gone back to a traditional food called sacha inchi, also known as the Inca peanut. It grows naturally in the forest, but the Shuar people have largely forgotten about it. The thing that's amazing about it is that it's 27% protein. This is more than beef steak. It's incredible. And so what we've done, we've set up some trial farms working with the Shuar, and we are growing these and distributing these to the native groups so that they have some hope, they have something to supplement their diet, and maybe down the road they'll even have something to export, because this really is a wonder food. We're also clean water initiatives. We found that the greatest loss of life in the area is actually intestinal parasites. It's a terrible thing, and they're coming from bad water. So we have water initiatives. We're introducing this thing called the solar wagon. We'll have the first one going in next week, and it'll provide 144,000 gallons of potable water per year to each village. We're ordering 30 of them. So how do you do exploration in countryside that looks like this? I mean, it's just pretty foreboding, thick jungle. Well, we do stream sediment work. What we do here, we collect a sample of sediment from the bottom of the stream here. We screen it down. We take the very fine fractions, and we analyze them in the laboratory for pretty much half of the periodic table and see what we get. This is basically the amount of property that we've covered right now. We've done about 40%. We still have a lot to go, but nevertheless, we're finding a lot of new stuff. The very first thing that we did when we entered the property was fly an airborne survey. Here's a stinger out the front. This is a magnetic sensor, and we spent $1 million on this, flying the entire property, the 208,000 hectares, to check for magnetism, which is related to porphyry-type deposits. What we have now, 16 current targets, a grouping of porphyry copper targets. We have Shimpia, which is a replacement of limestone. It's what's called a mantose type deposit. And then here we have epithermal gold silver type targets. And the one that we're drilling today is called Crunchy Hill. This is what the stream sediments look like when they're all plotted up. And the red colors here, the hot colors, are where we're getting the anomalous, the highest numbers. And you can see groupings. For instance, here, there's a grouping, which is repeated here, and here, and here, and here, and here. So you know that there's something very, very close by that's generating that anomaly, because the data builds on top of each other. And you can see that in other places here, like here, and here, and here, and here. You just go through the data. And what we're looking at here, things like arsenic, antimony, and selenium, are pathfinders to gold deposits. Pathfinders. They're indicators of what could be in the subsurface. It's a very, very curious looking rock we found at a place called Yowie. This will be our second drill target. And what this is actually that's it in situ. You see the rock hammer next to it. This is what it looked like. It was upright in the forest, on the forest floor. And this is very similar to here, which is Yellowstone National Park. We're looking at hot springs, but right at the very top. I said that this area has not been deeply eroded. So this is what a hot spring looks like at surface, out in the air, but this is Yellowstone Lake, and under the lake, it forms spires like this. And this is what we found. So something that was what was called lacustrine, which means in a lake bottom. and we're investigating this stuff now. Crunchy Hill, this is the area that we're drilling right now. It's called Crunchy Hill because amongst the quartz veins there's a lot of open space, and when you step on this, it's like stepping on muesli. It just crunches down and makes a noise. This is soil geochemistry. Again, it looks like bullseyes, right? You get anomalies all in the same places of the indicators, the pathfinders. Now, going back to Fruta del Norte, this is 2006, we had arsenic, antimony, and mercury on surface, no gold, but chalcedonic quartz, just like you saw where the hot springs are. And when we drilled underneath that, we hit 237 meters of 4 grams, and then everything went bananas after that. That was the discovery hole, and then eventually it ended up being 1.4 kilometers long. We're hoping for a similar sort of scenario. I can't promise you yet. Remember, we have a whole bunch of targets, though, and the number of targets is growing every day. We had the best drill hole that I could ever find in the literature in Fruta del Norte, 250 meters of 35 grams, just incredible stuff, full of visible gold, and that's what I was looking at the drill site. So this is what's going on now at Crunchy Hill on the Aurania property. Present day, we are drilling, and this is our core shack here, and you can see, I'm not going to zoom in on any of the core because we haven't released any results yet. A number of the holes have gone in for analysis. We're drilling hole number 6 right now, so this is very, very much work in progress. This is very exciting for us, though. This is sedimentary hosted copper. The geologist hauled the first chunk of this out of the bush in October of last year, and it was a little bit of an oddity to us. We thought, well, what the heck is this stuff, and why is it showing up? The black here is a mineral called chalcocite, which is a copper mineral, and the green here is copper carbonate, malachite, same sort of thing that you would find on a church copper roof. But this is embedded sediments. This is a chunk, it's about yay big in size. It's covered in malachite and bluish green azurite, both of which are copper carbonates. Very, very rich. This piece is running about 9%. So this is a little bit of an old slide from when we first started to find this stuff, but you can certainly, if you're near the front, you can see the numbers, but numbers are astounding. 5% copper, 7%, 1%, 9%, 1%, 1%, 4%. And this area, this is 3 kilometers here. We're talking top to bottom here, 20 Ks, 20 kilometers. This is big. This is not just something that we found and it's a meter or 2 wide. This is 20 kilometers north to south. We have a porphyry-type target here. We have another porphyry-type target here, and appreciable silver accompanying the gold. Up to 185 grams there, right? 46 grams, 45, 28. These are all very, very interesting numbers. Just to go a little bit north, this is in a press release from last week. Again, huge numbers here. Look at these, up to 38% copper. That's a bit of an oddity, 263 grams silver, but lots and lots of respectable stuff that's in the 12 to 20 to 30, 40, whatever. And then just looking at south, and this came out, I think, 2 days ago. Again, lots and lots of great numbers. Now, I have not cherry-picked these numbers and removed the bad ones. This is everything. This is incredible, and it may, in fact, be a world-class discovery. We're very, very, very excited about this. And heck, we're here for discovery investing, aren't we? So this is what we think is happening. We have a porphyry, and it's weathered in the subsurface, and the copper is moving around laterally into the water table and being precipitated. So this is a flat-lying thing. This is oxide copper. It's something that doesn't need a mill. All you have to do is crush it, and you can heap leach it. Cheap as chips. Great stuff. So just about done. The share structure is very tight, 34.8 million shares outstanding, 39 fully diluted. Our market cap's about 124 million Canadian right now. I own 54% of this company. I don't draw a salary. Last month I put in another $4 million because I'm a real believer on this. Unlike many junior companies where the management owns like maybe 0.5%, I own 54% of this. So my objectives are completely aligned with the shareholders. And if I don't make money, the shareholders don't make money, and vice versa. I intend to make a lot of money with this one. Thank you very much.